How can a man everyone called the villain end our chaos with one lawful public move? What happens when my second chance with my ex turns into neat dates and times on a spreadsheet, and I learn the cost only when the temporary orders land in my hand? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Ianthe Crowe, and I will say it straight because I work with schedules and know how to keep time. I am 33, a dental clinic coordinator, a mother and a woman who believes old love deserves a proper ending. Callum is my husband. People say he is steady. I say he is cold. He asked why I met my ex, Rex, for coffee. I said closure is healthy. He asked why I hid the photos. I said privacy is self-respect. That is how we speak now, plain words that carry knives. I like the feeling of being seen. Rex understands that. He said memory has a sound. I said my house is too quiet. Callum moved to the guest bed last month. He said he needed rest. I said he was punishing me. The kitchen tells our story better than we do. 2 mugs on opposite counters, a thin utilities binder growing fat, a wall planner with a single red ring. Yesterday, Callum's phone flashed a small reminder that read, "Downtown 2:15 p.m. He brushed it away. I pretended not to notice. I always notice when quiet changes shape. I am not the villain here. I am simply brave enough to finish what I started years ago. I came home after sunset and turned on every light. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner. 2 mugs waited on opposite counters like strangers. I put my keys down with a small show. I wanted the house to hear me arrive. Callum stood by the sink with rolled sleeves and quiet eyes. He asked if Rex and I talked about the past. I said we talked about music and peace. He asked why it took 3 hours. I said goodbyes need time. He rinsed a glass and put it back in the same spot. I told myself he loved order more than people. That line always fits in my mouth. I opened the fridge and made a fuss over nothing. I said I needed fuel because emotional labor burns calories. He asked if I told Rex I was married. I said of course. I wore my ring, did he not see? He watched me, not the ring. I hated that steady look. It makes a person feel measured. I slid the 2 mugs closer as a peace sign. He moved one back to its corner and said, "Mornings go better when things stay where they belong." I said belonging is a soft cage. He kept his voice level and asked what time Lena should wake for school trip forms. I said I would handle it. I meant later. The living room was neat again. Confetti from last weekend had vanished. The only thing out of place was a thin binder labeled utilities that had grown thick like it had eaten a week. I ran a finger down its spine and called it dramatic. Callum wiped the counter in calm lines. He asked if I would be home tomorrow evening. I said I was not sure. He said Lena sleeps better when plans are clear. I said children learn from flexible mothers. He did not argue. His non-arguing always feels like a trap I cannot see. I stepped to the hallway. The guest room door sat half open. The second pillow was centered on the bed, like a guest waiting for permission. I told myself he moved there to punish me. He had said he needed rest and less midnight talk. I called that a performance. The stairwell held our little table with the key dish. A new key shone on his ring. I asked what it opened. He said the mailbox cylinder had stuck. I said new keys mean distance. He said new keys mean function. The soft click of the study drawer reached us when he pushed it closed. I tried the handle out of habit. It did not open. He said Lena likes scissors and cords. The lock was for safety. I said locks keep secrets in. He said locks keep cutters away from little hands. I did not like how sensible that sounded. My phone lit with a message from Paula. She told me to post a soft photo to calm gossip. She said a mother should hold her child on the feed and let the warmth drown the noise. I typed that warmth would come after I healed. Ruth sent a short line that asked, "We keep adult things off the internet, Because Lena repeats everything at school. I told myself I was being policed by a committee of calm people. I hate committees more than locks. Callum's phone chimed on the counter. A small grey bar slid down. It read downtown 2:15 p.m. He tapped it away before I could breathe. I said that must be exciting. He said it was nothing and turned the phone face down. I said I did not care. I cared a lot. Downtown is where plans happen without me. I poured water and talked to the empty air about closure. I said Rex and I needed a careful goodbye. I said ghosts should be thanked before they leave. Callum asked if closure repeats every week. I said healing has no clock. He nodded once and asked what story I would like Lina to know if she asks. I said Lena is 6. She needs fairy tales, not reports. He accepted that without a sigh. I wanted a sigh. A sigh would have given me a villain. Lena wandered in with a drawing of a red boat. She asked if the boat could have 3 flags, because some boats like more attention. I said yes, and kissed her hair. Callum asked if we could read later. I said I had planning to do. Lena asked what planning. I said happy plans. She smiled the way children smile before they learn new words like schedule and custody. I pushed that word out of my head as if thought could make it untrue. I told Callum that Rex once wrote a song about me and that old art deserves a final listen. Callum asked if I wanted the house to be a rehearsal space. I said the house is mine too. He said the house is Lena's first. His tone did not rise. It never rises. I hate and admire that at the same time. I went to the mirror in our room and looked at my face until it looked like a story I could sell. I told myself I was brave. I told myself finishing a love story is adult. I told myself Callum could learn to be modern. The mirror held all of it and did not blink. From the hallway came the clean little sound of the study drawer locking again. My phone buzzed with a text preview that slid across and vanished. Missed that spark. Rex, of course. The message hid itself as if it knew Callum walked past. The timing felt like a dare I had given myself. I smiled into the mirror and called it destiny, which is only coincidence with perfume. I reached the dental clinic before the first patient and let the door's little bell prove I was early. The open office smelled like mint and paper. I lined up appointment cards by color because control looks good in my hands. Mira, my manager, walked by with her reusable cup and said we should chat after the morning rush. I said of course and used my brightest polite voice. She smiled the way people smile when they prepare a soft warning. At my desk, co-workers scrolled with a certain kind of glance. One asked if closure coffees with an ex were a thing now. I said maturity means finishing books, not leaving chapters hanging. Another said the rooftop video of Rex's set looked romantic. I said romance becomes duty when husbands stop dancing. A few small laughs rose and fell like shy fish. The printer in the back breathed a long, warm sheet of forms. Between calls, I opened the shared digital calendar to drop in a vendor meeting. On Callum's line, a grey repeating block wrote itself steady across Thursdays. Meeting. Personal. I told myself he had joined a team sport or a group for men who love rules. I closed the window fast, as if speed could undo the sight. A message from Paula asked about a soft photo with Lena for tonight. She said the platform likes kindness. I typed that truth should not need a costume. Ruth left a voice message that said Lena had asked what a Reconnect is. Ruth said we should explain things without the internet helping. I did not press play again. I do not like helpful. Mira waved and asked for a quick word in the tiny room with the plant that always leans toward fluorescent light. She thanked me for working the schedule mess last week, then asked if I could keep personal posts off any link with the clinic name. I said my life and my work both serve people. She said she believed me and still needed a clean line between them. I said I understood. Understanding is not agreeing. She heard only the first part and smiled. As I left the tiny room, Ms. Vale from HR stood by the copy machine with a clipboard. She asked for 2 minutes to review the social basics. I said 2 minutes was easy. She explained we should avoid location tags on private conflicts, keep faces of children off our pages, and never mix the city's accounts with our own arguments. I said my posts were about healing. She said healing is good, tagging the clinic when arguing is not. I nodded like a good student. She thanked me. The copy machine spit a blank page by mistake. She removed it with calm fingers and set the spool again. At break, I scrolled. The group chat had a rooftop invite for tonight. Rex's name sat in the middle like a star. A friend typed that he would play the old song. My stomach did a little flip that I called fate. Callum would call it appetite. I messaged back that I would swing by after work. A coworker leaned over and asked if I was okay, because I had smiled at my phone for 2 full minutes. I said I was finishing a story that started years ago. She blinked and said she hoped it was a kind ending. The clinic day moved in squares. Confirm, reschedule, print, calm. The printer hummed again, steady and long, while I fielded a call from a supplier. A call labeled private lit my phone and buzzed twice on my desk. I let it ring and die. A text preview flashed and vanished. Follow up later. Unknown. I decided it was a wrong number because that was easier. On lunch, I took a selfie with a to-go cup and typed a caption about healing old chapters. I almost tagged the clinic because the light looked good, then remembered Mira's face and removed it. I pressed post and watched little hearts walk across the screen like obedient ants. Paula replied with 3 warm emojis and a note that said, "Hold Lena's hand in the next one." Ruth wrote only, "Please keep her out of your captions." Back at my desk, I pretended to look for a stapler so I could pass the back printer. The tray kept filling like a calm waterfall. Mira caught my eye and said we would circle back Friday. Her tone was sanded smooth, polite, and final. I smiled and said I loved circles. She laughed once and moved on. Near the end of the day, I checked our family calendar again and clicked to next week. Meeting. Personal sat there again, grey and firm. I zoomed out and saw the block repeating into a small future I had not agreed to. I locked the screen and told myself Callum had found a chess club. A chess club would suit his quiet. I do not trust quiet. The last patient left. I wiped the counter clean. Ms. Vale walked past and thanked the team. The copy machine sighed, then spooled a final stack. The air smelled like warm toner and mint, the scent of rules printed in rows. My phone buzzed the moment I picked up my bag. Our friends posted from the rooftop, wide sky and little lights already on. A close-up showed Rex's guitar. The caption used the word home. I told myself, words are free and mean nothing until I make them mean something. I texted Paula that I would be late because the city needed me. She replied with a thumbs up and a line that said, "Remember who needs you most." I stared at the sentence until it lost shape. At the door, Mira stopped me and asked if I had any concerns to share before the weekend. I said I was great and that growth looks messy from the outside. She nodded once and wished me a calm evening. Calm sounds like a dare when I hear it from certain mouths. The clinic bell chimed when I stepped into the street. I felt eyes on my back and decided they were jealous. The air held that soft city hum I like to call destiny. I wrote to Rex that I was on my way. He sent a single note emoji. I called that music in my pocket. I reached the rooftop before sunset because cameras like edges. The breeze felt clean. Lights blinked across the river like small yeses. Rex tuned his guitar near the glass wall. He asked if the night felt like old summers. I said the night owed me a gift. Mary from the clinic's sister office waved and lifted 2 drinks. She said we should make a line for the caption. I said life after duty. She repeated it to the table like a toast. The phrase rolled around the group until it sounded bigger than me. More friends arrived with shiny jackets and easy grins. A girl I barely knew asked if I was the woman from the rehearsal selfie. I said I was. She said the blur still showed enough. I said mystery cells. Phones turned without asking. I climbed onto a bench and lifted my glass. I said some husbands confuse steadiness with love. A soft "oh" moved through the crowd. Rex slid beside me and said, "Old songs can carry new hearts." I said old songs should finish what they start. Someone shouted that I should sing. I said I managed events, not notes. They laughed anyway, and it felt like winning. Rex began his set. He did the opening riff from the song he wrote when I was 20. He said the next part belonged to a girl who taught him risk. I said risk taught me truth. I watched the cameras. I felt taller than the skyline. A chant tried to start, slow and messy. I fed it with 3 words about after and freedom. The chant took the easy shape and bounced across tables. People clapped to a rhythm that had more courage than tune. I smiled at a stranger's lens and told myself the city was on my side. We left for the co-working lounge after last call because Rex wanted a clip under neon signs. The building smelled like coffee and new paint. He asked if the house ever felt this alive. I said the house stares at me with rules. He said rules can be turned into bridges. I said Callum builds bridges to keep me from flying. He set a little light on a table and filmed a slow pan of my face. He said the camera loved closure. I said the camera loved me. 2 of his friends drifted into the side room to test a loop pedal. The door stood half open. The light made a narrow slice across the floor. I slipped inside for a minute because I wanted a new angle for my hair. A phone flash popped from the hall. Footsteps paused by the frame. Someone whispered that I looked like a music video. I said the point of a story is to make the ending obvious. The phone flash popped again. I felt brave and also tilted. I told myself both were fine. Near midnight, we walked to the train. Rex asked if I would come to the weekend set by the river. I said I wanted to, but I had schedules. He said he could play around schedules. I said schedules are a net. He smiled at the ground and did not press. I liked that he did not press because I could rename it respect. In the morning, I went to the supermarket wearing sunglasses because it made sense for a woman who had lived a night. The clerk looked up and said she recognized my dress from a rooftop clip. I said the city has good memory. She asked if the music was worth the mess. I said mess is how joy proves it happened. She handed me the receipt like a small paper truth and wished me rest. Back home, the apartment looked tidy. The thin utilities binder had a new bulge. The spine pushed against its label like a breath held too long. The air held a faint toner smell, soft but stubborn. On the table, Callum's laptop woke when I stepped near, then minimized a window in one fast blink. The desktop showed 2 calm folders, Archive A and Archive B. I asked myself if order was a shield or a sword. I picked sword because I needed a reason to be angry. I opened my phone and posted the chant clip with a bright filter. Hearts arrived in a row. Our chat lit up with a new link. Someone had posted a hallway flash. The door in frame, my dress at the edge, nothing more and somehow still something. An unknown text preview slid over my screen and erased itself before my eyes could catch it. It said, only saved everything. I told myself it was a joke from a friend. I told myself jokes are nothing unless I decide they are something. Paula booked a table at the family restaurant because she said birthdays for cousins need photos with cousins. I said I would come and bring my good mood. Callum arrived early and fanned the menus like he always did, neat and even. I slid one out of line. He asked if Lena felt ready to read her poem later. I said Lena was ready for anything that celebrated me. Paula kissed my cheek and said the camera loved my color today. I said the camera had good taste this week. Cousins asked if the rooftop chant was about Callum. I said chants are about energy, not names. They laughed the easy laugh that picks a side without saying it. Callum asked if I wanted water. I said I wanted understanding. He poured the water anyway and slid the glass close. I left it there. The server brought bread. I tore a piece like it proved I was alive. I told a friendly story about reconnection and healing. I said Rex and I honored the past so the future could breathe. Paula said that sounded grown. Ruth asked if we could keep details away from Lena's ears. I said Lena was smart and smart children handle truth. Ruth said children deserve gentle air. I said gentle air is also a cage. The table moved in small ways, like people switching to safer topics without saying so. After plates cleared, we walked to the park. The swing squeaked in little songs. I sat with Paula on a bench and scrolled my phone. A playground mom had posted a blurred still of the hallway flash. The caption used old flames. I commented with a heart, because hearts look like power. Across the grass, Callum and his brother stood with hands in their pockets. They talked in low voices that did not hang in the air. I told Paula that men whisper when they want to win without doing any work. She said men plan when they understand what is at risk. I said risk was my job. Lena ran over with flushed cheeks. She asked why Mummy locked the bedroom door when the song still played. The question opened a space inside my chest where breath felt thin. I said doors get heavy sometimes. She asked if people who love each other still lock doors. I said doors keep weather out. She said our weather lives in the hallway. Ruth called her to look at a bluebird near the fence. Lena went, but she looked back at me once like I had missed a step in a dance. We returned to the cars. Callum's car sat nose toward the street. I said fast exits look guilty. He said early shifts like straight lines. I said words can be trained. He did not answer. The garage smelled like cardboard and dust. At the hall table inside, a stack of mail lay flipped, top envelope face down. I said rummaging was not a personality. He said sorting saves hours later. I said sorting saves cowards. He stepped into the study to put keys down. I followed because I never liked doors between us. The laptop woke in his hands, bright and fast. A spreadsheet flashed for a heartbeat. Initials in one column, dates in another. He closed the lid with no hurry. I said it looked like a trap disguised as a chart. He said it was school scheduling. I said the fonts looked personal. He said records help memory. I said memory in the wrong hands becomes a knife. He said nothing. On his keyring, a new key caught the light. I asked what door learned a new story. He said the mailbox had stuck. I said keys multiply when men plan exits. He said keys multiply when old ones fail. Ruth texted and asked if she could take Lena to the library tomorrow for quiet time. I typed that we had plans. Callum looked at me and asked if Lena wanted a stamp in her reading log. Lena jumped and said yes. I told myself he had coached that jump. I prefer a reason that lets me stay the hero. Paula called and said a soft family picture would cool the talk online. I said softness is a costume, and I am not a costume. She said softness is a home. I said homes should be lively, not soft. She sighed in a way that carried love and worry. I ended the call before the worry changed my shape. I opened my notes app to write a long post called Truth and Courage. The words came hot and smooth. I read them once and felt my hands shake. I deleted the whole thing. The air in the study felt crowded with invisible lists. I stepped onto the porch to breathe. The neighbor with the stroller passed and slowed near our steps. She looked at me for one long second and adjusted the blanket. I lifted my chin and smiled like a woman who wrote the weather. She moved on without speaking. My phone buzzed with a comment that repeated the chant. I liked it because like is easier than think. Back inside, Lena asked again about doors and love. The room shifted. I said doors are tools. She said tools fix broken things. I said some things are not broken. They are new. Callum said it was bedtime. I said bedtime is not a cure. He read a page from a quiet book. His voice had that steady tone that makes rooms behave. I stood in the doorway and looked at the man who never raised his voice and the child who sharpened hers without noise. In the kitchen, 2 mugs waited on opposite counters. I pushed them together, and then apart, and then together again, as if that could write the ending I liked. The utilities binder sat thick and tired on the shelf. The house held still. I told myself I was still the main character. I told myself main characters do not ask permission. I climbed the stairs as if the landing belonged to me. The bulb hummed. The air near the study carried a thin smell, like warm paper from a small machine. On the side table lay a sticky note in Callum's careful hand. It read, "Bring forms." I picked it up and said the words out loud, like they were a joke. He stepped from the study with Lena's folded sweater and asked if I wanted tea. I said I wanted honesty. He glanced at the note and said it was for utilities. I said utilities did not need theatre. He said order saved time. I said order stole air. We both knew the lines. I pushed into the study before he could close it. The desk lamp made a neat square of light. I tried the top drawer. It did not open. I rattled it. He said the drawer stayed locked because Lena liked scissors and cords. I said locks meant secrets. He did not argue. On the lower shelf under a blue folder, labelled taxes, sat a single USB stick, a strip of tape across it with today's date in tidy numbers. I held it up and asked if it was a diary. He said it was a backup. I said backups are for people planning to lose. He said backups are for people who plan. The laptop woke as I set the USB down. A clean desktop showed two folders like bookends, Archive A and Archive B. I said he lived in a filing cabinet. He said finding things fast keeps a house calm. I said calm is not alive. He moved the mouse. A window minimized so fast it felt guilty. I saw the title only for a breath. Follow-up. I asked what he needed to follow up. He said everyone does. I said riddles were not attractive. He put on headphones, the serious pair. Somewhere in the room, a faint beep sounded, small and exact. I asked if he was recording me. He said the dishwasher was ending a cycle. I did not check. I prefer suspicion to facts when facts do not flatter me. In the kitchen, two mugs waited on opposite counters. I slid them together like two small boats. He moved one back without a word. I said this was petty theatre. He said separate stations make mornings easy for Lena. I said mornings were not my boss. He handed me water. I said I was not a plant. He said people still need water. I drank because my mouth was sand. The thin utilities binder on the shelf looked fatter again, its spine bending a little, like a back that worked late. I ran my finger along it, as if I could feel time. On the wall planner, a single red circle glowed next week. I asked if it was a party I had not heard about. He said it was a due date for Lena's school trip payment. I said circles look like targets. He said circles look like clocks from above. The line sounded simple and true, which made it irritating. Paula called and asked if I could bring Lena to her place for 2 days so I could rest. I said rest was for people who wanted to be managed. She said passion needs shade, or it burns itself. I said I do not burn. She suggested a soft family photo to settle the comments. I said softness is how women disappear. While I spoke, Ruth texted to say Lena had asked what Reconnect means and whether doors need locks to sing. She wrote that she could take Lena to the library tomorrow. I typed that we had plans. She replied with one word, steady. A small alarm chirped from Callum's phone. He silenced it with one finger. The label flashed before it went dark. Paper drop. I said the title was dramatic. He said it was for clearing out flyers and mail. I said men loved props. He nodded toward the recycling bin and said piles grow fast. I said lies grow faster. He kept his voice level, teacher calm. That calm makes me itch. I messaged Rex that the rooftop clip had hit 1,000 likes in our circle. He sent a lightning bolt. I called that respect because the other word was distance. I posted a photo of my hand on a coffee cup with a caption about finishing old stories. Hearts walked across the screen like small soldiers. A second later, I saw a comment ask if closing a book means opening a home. I deleted the comment and said to myself that envy has fast fingers. The hall-out box held an unsealed envelope like a patient mouth. I lifted it. Callum appeared in the doorway and said it was nothing important. I slid it back with 2 fingers. From the study, the laptop chimed with a small cloud message. File uploaded successfully. The words looked soft and final. I felt the breath in my chest turn thin, then steady. We moved to the balcony because I wanted sky and a place without drawers. The street below hummed. I said I might take Lena to my mother's to reset. He said Lena needed routine. I said routine is a cage. He said routine is a flaw. I said men love flaws because they fear falling. He said metaphors did not help. I said facts never helped me either. He watched the traffic lights change, like a slow lesson. I said he made me look like a villain. He said I did not need his help to look like that lately. The words cut clean. I said he was cruel. He said he was careful. I said careful men are cowards. He said careful men keep children safe. I said I would keep Lena safe my way. He said his way involved less noise. I said noise is proof of life. He let the sentence sit in the air without touching it. From the study, the screen pulsed again. File uploaded successfully. I asked if he was building a case. He said he was putting things in order. I said, order is a weapon. He said disorder cuts too. I said I would not be managed. He said he would not keep debating. He said he would handle matters properly. The word landed with a hard edge and no heat, like a stamp on paper. I laughed once and asked if properly meant more folders. He said properly meant boundaries, schedules, and respect. I said, respect is a shape men draw around women to hold them still. He said respect is space where a child can sleep. I had no clever line ready for that. The balcony door slid along its track. The glass threw my face back at me, smaller than I felt. The latch found home with a clean click. I chose the office tower because light in a lobby makes people polite. The floor shone like water. Plants stood in careful pots. I walked in with my phone in my hand and a bright face. I told myself this was only a talk to stop rumors. Callum stood near the security desk with his work badge clipped to his pocket. He nodded once, the same way he nods to strangers who ask for directions. The nod landed inside me, like a small cold coin. A security officer greeted him by name and looked at me with a neutral face. The officer asked if I needed a visitor pass. I said I was here to clear a misunderstanding. Callum said clarity would arrive soon. I said rumors die when people are brave. He said facts do not need bravery. The sentence felt like a door closing without sound. 2 women from the playground were near the seating area with coffee cups. One whispered and stared at her lid. I told myself they liked drama, and I still owned the angle. A person in a blazer walked over with a small envelope, voice professional and plain. The person asked my full name and date of birth. I gave both because official voices open a switch in the lungs. The person confirmed the details and said there were papers for me. I said papers were not needed. The person said service was required. The envelope touched my palm. It felt lighter than the air and heavier than the week. The top page carried a bold word I did not want: petition. The lines below were clear, even with my pulse hard in my ears. It said divorce with temporary orders. It granted Callum exclusive possession of the home until a hearing. It said I must not re-enter the residence without arrangement. It set a temporary custody pickup schedule starting today, times and places listed like bus stops. It said personal items could be collected by arrangement with notice. The sentences did not care about captions. I said this was theatre. The process server said this was lawful service. Callum thanked the server for their time in the same steady tone he uses when a child returns a lost notebook. He did not look proud. He looked finished. I said we could fix this at home. He said the home was protected by the orders for now. I said he wanted to make me homeless. He said the orders kept Lena steady and kept conflict small. The security officer adjusted a badge and then went still again. The lobby air changed. Not louder, just sharper. My phone buzzed. Paula texted that she was outside with Lena's scarf and that she hated public scenes. I typed that this was not a scene. My thumb made a mistake. I fixed it. The server read the pickup time for today out loud, so there would be no confusion. People near us lowered their voices, not to hide, but to let the moment stand by itself. I asked what would happen if I went home now for a bag. The server said I must not re-enter without arrangement, and that security could note a time for a short collection with Callum present. Callum said he would meet me at 6 by the front door with a list and a box. I said I did not agree to his clock. He said the order was the clock. The sentence sat between us like glass. One playground mother lifted her phone halfway and then set it down. The other looked at the directory as if names could save her. I told Callum he had turned me into an enemy. He said he had followed the law. I said he had trained the law to hate me. He said the law does not hate, it measures. He said Lena needed sleep more than a show. The words were plain and heavy. They did not reach for applause. The server asked me to confirm I had received the documents. I said I had. The server noted the time, thanked the officer, and stepped toward the elevators. The lobby returned to its ordinary motion. Shoes over stone, a small laugh, the soft thump of a parcel on a desk. The packet rested in my hand, warm now from my skin. I asked Callum if he felt proud. He said he felt steady. He said he would follow the orders. He said he hoped I would too. He thanked the security desk again and stood back. I looked at the bold lines that said, I must not go home without arrangement. That afternoons belonged to clocks I had not chosen. My keys in my pocket felt like stage props. An elevator bell chimed. The doors slid open with a soft breath. The process server stepped inside and faced forward. The doors began to close. The bright line of the lobby floor cut toward my shoes. I stood with the packet and a smile that would not hold. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.